Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of what I hope I will be calling 40K in 30 minutes. As I expressed in my last video, I'm going to be doing more video battle reports for a couple different reasons, and got some feedback on the one that I did as well as what people would like to see and stuff. So main thing is we're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes or less. So going to run through the game, talk about the game, get in and get out, hopefully makes it a little bit more enjoyable and a little bit easier to consume for everybody. So that's kind of what we're going with here for the format. So today, or not today, yesterday technically at the time of making this video, I played a tournament prep game with one of the guys who I'm pretty good buddies with by the name of Colin. He was playing the new Tyranids, which I have not gotten a chance to go up against yet. Not really very surprising since their codex just came out last weekend. But he also has a tournament coming up, not the same tournament I'm going to, which is a little weird. We have two different stores in the area running tournaments on the same day. Usually not what you prefer to see, but I don't make those decisions, so it's out of my hands. But yeah, we just decided to, both take what we thought would be good lists for the tournament and throw them against each other, play an ITC mission as both events are using ITC rules, and see what happens. So we'll start off with the list here. If you've been watching my battle reports, this one should be no stranger to you. It's my pretty standard chaos list using a bunch of cultists, a bunch of malefic lords, and a bunch of obliterators, along with Abaddon to keep everybody nice and not running away all the time. And then a sorcerer who is mostly like a tech choice against specific armies like AdMech. And then I also have some, some horrors to, be camp objectives, screen, bubble wrap, all that kind of grunt work that, the other units don't really want to do. For the Tyranid list, we have kind of a unique one. I don't know a lot about Tyranids in terms of what's good competitively for them, especially in light of them getting a new book, but these are some units that I don't see on the table that much. So there were two Hive Tyrants with wings and twin Death Spitters with Slimer Maggots. They actually have two twin Death Spitters, so they put out a good amount of shots apiece. We also have two Broodlords. One has the Instinctive Killer trait, and the other one has the Norn Crown relic. So I don't remember what Instinctive Killer does. Norn Crown, I believe, is like a 30-inch range for not having to take instinctive behavior tests. And then there are 3 units of 20 Gene Stealers, 3 units of Ripper Swarms, one with 4 of them and the other 2 with 3, and then 2 Exocrines, just the normal Exocrines. So kind of a very much like an all-in list, I would say. Has obviously, when you're running that many Gene Stealers, you're going to come right at your opponent. You probably don't have the guns, required to get into any kind of shooting war or anything like that. This list is definitely no exception to that. And then, that has the 2 Broodlords to kind of buff the Gene Stealers up. They can give them Catalyst and make them get better to hit rolls. They're good fighters on their own, so definitely a solid choice there. The Hive Tyrants, pretty much just screen killers from how the list is supposed to play. So their guns are high output but don't have the best stats. So I believe the Slimer Maggot Death Spitters are strength 7, AP 1, 1 damage, and I think the Hive Tyrants get 12 shots apiece with the guns that they have. So they put out a lot of firepower, but they're not really, good enough AP to deal with something like Marines. Not really good enough strength or AP or damage to deal with something like vehicles. Strength 8 is more where you want to be for that. But they are pretty good at clearing out screens and stuff because they wound most of those on 2s. Everything else is pretty much wound on 3s. AP 1 is usually good enough when you're dealing with like conscripts, cultists, demons, gaunts, all those kind of different units. So good selection for that. And then the Exocrines are just kind of a nod to be able to destroy tanks, obviously, which is pretty important. The mission we played is ITC mission number 1, Seize Ground. It's the one with the 6 objectives deployed in kind of like a pyramid shape on either side. You could look it up if you have the document, and then you get a bonus point if you hold or contest 5 or more of the 6 objectives. For the secondaries, I chose Kingslayer with one of the Hive Tyrants. They're exactly the same, so I just picked the one that I thought looked cooler because I wanted to kill it more. I chose the Reaper and Big Game Hunter. So the Tyranid list I was going against, just a plethora of options for secondaries. Like, you can take Kingslayer, you can take Reaper, you can take Big Game Hunter, you can take Headhunter, because there's 4 characters, and then, you know, like, Recon is not that bad against it. So I would say that's maybe a weakness of the list, is that, you know, it gives your opponent a little too many options when it comes to ITC mission variants with picking those secondary objectives. A big part of strong competitive armies right now is being able to make it so that your opponent only has one really good selection. So maybe you have like just big units or just a lot of characters, something like that, and then they can't, you know, rack up those points as easily. It's, you know, pretty important. The Tyranids took Headhunter, pretty typical against me with all the characters I have, and the Malefic Lords aren't too tough. The Reaper, again, very common against me, although not one that I think is great unless you're running a very shooting heavy army. It's actually very difficult to eat through a cultist unit in one turn, and then, because, you know, otherwise I'll just bring them back. So it can be a little difficult to get that one. And then he took Kingslayer Abaddon, which I probably would have opted for Recon, just because his army is, the Tyranid army is so aggressive, but it has, you know, a couple things that'll stay in the back, like Ripper Swarm could stay in the back, hold an objective, Exocrines are definitely going to stay in the back, but then, you know, everything else is, you know, either deep striking in or just running at you or something like that. So I think getting Recon would be pretty easy for the army, especially if it's going to be winning, whereas, you know, getting to Abaddon and killing him might not be as easy. The only thing that he has that can really scare Abaddon is like the Exocrines and the Broodlords. A ton of Genestealer attacks could threaten him, but it's unlikely that a bunch of Genestealers are going to surround Abaddon, you know, unless I'm just getting the crap beat out of me. So just probably a difference of opinion there. We rolled off to go for who goes first. I actually won the roll, and then I had Colin go first. In this case, I wanted to have him come to me. I obviously have way more shooting than he does, so it's kind of a he has to play my game situation, and I reasoned that if I went first, and, you know, if I don't move, I'm not going to get that much shooting off against him, and it's kind of a waste. Or if I advance towards him, then he's going to be able to get me with all of his Genestealers, and I don't want that. So I'd rather just have him go first. If he does nothing, then I can sit back and shoot, and I have the, you know, second player advantage in the ITC missions, which is, you know, being able to see how many objectives I need to hold, how many units I need to kill to score those extra points, things like that. So I think that was a good decision on my part. So we'll go to some pictures here. This is Colin's army all deployed. You can see the 3 units of Genestealers. We were doing search and destroy deployment, so table quarters, and then the pretty standard terrain, all ruins, level 1 block line of sight, unless you know, it's like a very open part. It's very standard ITC rule that a lot of people play by. So yeah, we can see the Broodlord in kind of the back middle there. The one more on the right side of the frame is the one with the Norn Crown. The other one has Instinctive Killer. And then we have the 2 Exocrines. All the Ripper Swarms and the Hive Tyrants are in Deep Strike. This is my army, so you can see here that I've opted for a very defensive deployment. I'm very huddled together, and then I have my units of horrors kind of strung out in front of me to, one, make Deep Strike less attractive as far as charges go and things like that, because I don't want the Hive Tyrants or the Ripper Swarms making it so that one of my unit of cultists cannot shoot. I really need those las guns to be able to deal with the Genestealers. And then I also don't want any excuse me, any good Genestealer advances to be able to get into me in terms of combat right away. As far as the Hive fleets go, I should have mentioned that earlier. Everything is the one that lets you roll 3 dice and pick the highest for advancing and then fall back and charge again. All the Genestealers are that, and then the big bugs are Kronos, I believe, the one that lets you stand still and reroll 1s to shoot. So good picks there. My stuff is all Black Legion, of course. But yeah, so I don't want him to be able to, roll 3 dice with those Gene Stealers, get a 6 or something, use the stratagem to double that to a 12. So now all of a sudden these Gene Stealers are like just all up in my face. It can, multi-charge me, do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then, from there, the game could definitely spiral out of control. So I have all of the horrors. There's 2 units on the outer ring, and then I have 1 unit on the inner ring, more in the middle of it, because that's where the Gene Stealers are going to come from. I'm not as worried about stuff coming at me on the flanks, so that's kind of my very defensive deployment. And then I have the the cultists all bundled together, make sure they're in range of Abaddon, of course, and then also if I need to, I could take either the brown or the pink unit and advance them and kind of form another screen to protect the other 2 units of cultists, so at least that way I'm not getting multi-charged and stuff like that. And then this is just an overview of the board. You can see a little bit more how the objectives are set up. We're just using the Fate of Konor objectives because I don't have anything fancy. We decided to play everything as ruins except for that little crater on the left-hand side there. Pretty typical, Warhammer board where you have a lot of ruins and stuff. I have been wanting to experiment with running like forests and things because I think it's a lot easier to conceptualize, okay, this forest just blocks line of sight, it's infinitely tall, something like that, than some of the ruins can be, but leave that for another day. And this is just another overview of Colin's perspective on the board. Alright, so this is Colin's end of movement phase. So you can see that the Hive Tyrants came down kind of on my flank a little bit, and then the Gene Stealer units are running forward, of course. Here's more of an overview of the army. So the blue unit is kind of just coming at me. Colin declined to use the I think it's like Burst of Adrenaline or something, the one that lets you double their advance roll. And then the other units just kind of moved around a little bit. One of the Broodlords came up, hiding behind some crates there. Exocrines, of course, staying where they are because they get tons of bonuses if they don't move. They get to shoot twice, reroll 1s, get +1 ballistic skill. It's like they get a lot of benefit from not moving at all. And then we had some Ripper Swarms come up as well. So we have 2 on the left side, and there's also 1 unit on my right flank. These ones are more acting as like an objective grabber. You can see that that one is staying on that red objective there, and then the other one is just getting as close as possible to try to charge into the horrors, because while Rippers aren't very good in a fight, horrors are like maybe the worst combat unit in the entire game. So any damage he can do to them and get through my bubble to then expose the cultists is something that his army definitely wants to do. Alright, and then this is the Psychic phase. Not much to do on the first turn. Put Catalyst on that blue unit of Gene Stealers there, thanks to a reroll. I wasn't able to dispel it, so they get 5+ feel no pain. And that was it for that was it for the Psychic phase. I don't remember what everything had as far as psychic powers, but he didn't have much to do. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is actually still in the Psychic phase. Psychic Scream and some smites go into the blue horrors from the Hive Tyrants. I do manage to stop, I believe, one of the smites, but Psychic Scream and the other smite go off, so I lose a couple models there. And because the horrors are actually a psyker, they forget how to use the smite power, which is kind of funny. And this is just some casualties I lost from the smite. As you can see, I'm pulling from the flank because all that's over there is the Ripper Swarms you can see at the top of the picture. So I'm not, they're kind of far back because obviously, I had more guys there, so we had to deploy over 9 inches away. So there's no way they're going to make a charge or anything. Even if they did, between Overwatch and me actually fighting back with Abaddon rerolls and stuff, I'd probably kill all of them. So not worried about it either way. Alright, and then I believe this is my turn. Yep, the only other thing that happened on Colin's turn was he shot some of the blue horrors. If we go back to this picture, basically this unit on the bottom is wiped out here except for one guy who runs from morale. And then the Ripper Swarm on the left does not make its charge into the horror unit. So not too bad. A big part of Colin's turn was that his Exocrines were both out of range. They have 36-inch range, but they were both short of even the demons, which I would love to say that I planned that, but I did not know their range prior to playing. I didn't know if it was 48 or how far it was. But when it came time for him to measure it, he was a couple inches short, so he didn't actually get to fire those at all, which is quite a big deal because those are pretty expensive and their guns are quite good. So that definitely prevented him from being able to, you know, at least kill some cultists or maybe like kill some of the horrors. Seeing them was probably going to be tricky because of the line of sight terrain we're running and stuff like that, but not being able to shoot them is definitely a big mistake on Colin's part. So this is movement phase after my turn. You can see that I've just kind of walked everything up. I run both of the units of horrors to kind of reestablish my my double layer screen in the middle where the Gene Stealers are. I'm not worried about the flanks anymore because I've seen where the Hive Tyrants came down. I see where the Ripper Swarms are. I kind of, you know the lay of the land, so I can focus my screens more on where I'm expecting damage from. And then also because of how Colin's moved his Gene Stealers, they're not really all coming straight for me. I think the deployment hurt him a little bit in that regard. He could move through the crates and things like that, but just didn't for whatever reason. I don't know his exact reasoning for that, but my kind of hope for the turn is to be able to kill the blue unit of Gene Stealers and then both of the Hive Tyrants, and then my deployment zone is very clean at that point, and I have my defensive perimeter, and from then on I'm probably just going to win a shooting war against the Tyranid army because they don't really have any guns to deal with or anything. So yeah, we just move up. The Sorcerer comes down on the right there, as you can see, to get in range for a Death Hex on the Hive Tyrant. Not the best odds at a Death Hex because first of all you need an 8 to cast it. I don't have any bonuses or anything, and then with Shadow in the Warp I need a 9 on dice, so pretty risky, but there's really no reason not to try. He is a little bit exposed there, but I think even if I don't get Death Hex off on the Hive Tyrants, I'll be able to kill probably both of them with the amount of Obliterators that I have, and then even if I don't, they're not melee Hive Tyrants, so if they want to like go after the Sorcerer, that's fine. I can get Abaddon over there or something like that, and we can figure that out. So I didn't feel very afraid of putting him out there. And then all of the Obliterators kind of drop in that building, as you can see. I have 2 units on the top level and then 2 units on the bottom level. All of them are within range of Abaddon, which is the first game I've gotten that done in, except for one of the games I played in the tournament a couple weeks ago. So I was pretty happy about that, starting to really look at my movement before I start moving all my guys to make sure that the Obliterators are going to have room to at least toe in to 6 inches so that I can get the rerolls on them. Very important for the list, so I was very happy that I got that done. And then this is just kind of a look at both of the Hive Tyrants from the point of view of the Sorcerer. And this is just another look at the Obliterators, so you can see where they are. You can see how my screen's kind of aligned there. I don't really have them staggered anymore, but I definitely still have the waves that are going to be hard for Colin to get through. And then this is just another general overview of the table. Moving into my Psychic phase, I failed to cast most of my smites. I think I only got like 3 off with the Malefic Lords. We did not even remember Shadow in the Warp for those. I was literally just rolling 3s over and over again. So did very little to the Gene Stealers, only killed a couple of them. I did put 1 wound on the Ripper Swarms on the left that are near the bunker there with the Blue Horrors smite, so that was cool, I guess. But crucially, I rolled a 10 for the Death Hex. Didn't even have to use a reroll, just raw rolled it, and then even with a reroll, Colin was not able to dispel it. So that front Hive Tyrant does not have the invulnerable save anymore, and that was actually the one that I marked as Kingslayer, my Kingslayer target. Alright, and then as you can see here, we moved into the shooting phase, and there are no more Hive Tyrants. So I unloaded all of the Obliterators into them, managed to kill both of them with the 4 units of Obliterators, so I didn't have to use any Endless Cacophony to do that or anything. So that was really good. Obviously a lot of points in shooting there, but I removed a lot of the Synapse that Colin has, a lot of his Shadow in the Warp, which is good against my army for sure, and then of course a lot of his ability to kill my screens, which are kind of winning me the game right now. So that was very, very good that it worked out like that. Rolled pretty good profiles for the Obliterators. Was getting, I think the first one I rolled was Strength 8, AP 3 damage to throw into the Hive Tyrant that doesn't have an Invone anymore, which should have just killed him straight up with the dice I was rolling, but Colin rolled some nice saves and left him with 3 wounds, so the next unit finished him up. But yeah, I managed to get both of them, so that's all my points for Kingslayer, 2 points for Big Game Hunter, so that was a big point swing as well. And then over here, there was a unit of Ripper Swarms, but the Cultists and the Sorcerer took care of that. I was saving the Sorcerer's Plasma Gun in case I just had to try for like an overcharge or something on one of the Hive turns to finish it off, but didn't have to do that. But it was mostly the the auto guns that took down the Rippers there. So that's just another unit to give me, kill more units than your opponent. There's really no reason to kill them, but I might as well just go for maximum pressure. And then we could see here some of the Gene Stealers are behind the wall, but I could definitely see most of them. I actually expected to kill this unit, but Colin was rolling amazing saves. The 5+ Invone plus the 5+ Catalyst was just keeping them around so much. I rolled perfectly normal, but yeah, they were just not failing those saves. So I think I only managed to kill 9 or 11 of them, something like that. So still quite a few, but with 2 Cultist units shooting into them, some Smites, Abaddon shooting into them, and stuff like that. I was expecting to kill both of the units, and I actually did use Endless Cacophony here to throw another Obliterator unit into them, just reasoning like that the multiple damage would do some work. It actually did, but I think I only did 4 wounds that got past Invones, and Colin made 2 out of the 3 5+s for the Feel No Pain on every single one of them, so they all died, but they all almost lived, which was kind of funny. And then, yeah, you can just see here that quite a few of them are dead. So, yeah, it looks like I killed, I think, 11 of them? Yeah, I think there's another one heading around the corner. So, yeah, quite a few casualties, but the unit is definitely still running around. So, we go over to Colin's turn. He advances the Gene Stealer unit and burns the stratagem to let them go double their distance. So I believe they move 10 inches with the run, and then I think they move 8 inches naturally. So they just kind of ran around my screen, got right into my face, and are hoping to do some work over there. The Ripper Swarms over here just move to get ready for an unfailable charge into the Horrors to try to kind of clear them out as well. The other unit of Ripper Swarms in the back there is Daisy Chain to hold the objective, but get cover also if they need it or something like that. And yeah, I guess I didn't take a picture of the rest of his movement. That's my bad. Not actually much else moves. The Exocrines both do move, so they can get in range and be in range for the rest of the game, but they only shuffled a few inches. And then the Gene Stealers, the other units, don't actually do that much movement. With not being able to, shoot my screens off, Colin's pretty wary of getting too close with the other Gene Stealer units because I still have all those las guns and stuff like that. So he's kind of keeping them back a little bit. I think more wanting to see what the Rippers can do and see if the Exocrines can maybe thin out the Blue Horrors a little bit, and then try to go in next turn while mostly hiding them or just weathering the storm. So this is the charge here into the Cultists and the Sorcerer. I kill a lot of Gene Stealers, you can see, with Overwatch. Abaddon makes the Overwatch on the Cultists extremely powerful. I had almost all of them in rapid fire range, so I think I was putting out 74, 76 shots, something like that. And even when you need 6s to hit, when you reroll everything, you get a lot of 6s. So yeah, I just put a bunch of damage into them. They did not have Catalyst this time. Colin actually did not get Catalyst off this turn, even with the reroll. Just did not meet the casting value. So we've both been having pretty poor psychic phases. And then wasn't in range to do anything else, so not having any Catalyst on his Gene Stealers definitely hurts. But yeah, then these guys got shot up really bad, and they put all their attacks into the Sorcerer, only ended up doing 1 wound to him, as you can see there, and then basically I strike back with the Cultists and kill the remaining 3. The Sorcerer didn't do anything. He hit with all 3 of his attacks and failed to wound with all 3 of his attacks, but the Cultist got in there, still in range of Abaddon for rerolls, so hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, 2s, and 3s, and then wounding on 5s, and that was enough to take out just 3 Gene Stealers that only have a 5+ save. So then I just kind of consolidated forward a little bit there. And that was actually the end of the game. So Colin called it after that. It was very obviously over. He had quite a bit of his army left, but I've lost literally nothing of value. I've lost a couple horrors, that was it. And he's lost a whole unit of Gene Stealers, both Hive Tyrants. I'm going to probably kill another unit of Gene Stealers this turn. I believe he killed one Obliterator with the Exocrine, or no, I think he only put 2 wounds on one of them. He rolled quite badly for them, and I made good saves. So I'm also, I'm likely to just use the Obliterators to kill one of the Exocrines, or definitely kill some of the Gene Stealers or something like that, and then from there the game is essentially unwinnable. So what I'll talk about now is, what did we learn, basically? So this is something I always ask myself, either from my perspective or my opponent's perspective, especially when I'm trying to prep for a tournament or playing a more competitive game or something like that. So first bullet point, pretty obvious, measure twice, deploy once. So 40K is a game where you're allowed to pre-measure anything at any time. You can use proxy bases, you could do whatever you need to do to make informed decisions about the game. Colin deploying those 2 Exocrines out of shooting range is a huge mistake. It didn't, cost him the game, but because there were other things that happened, but it's one of those mistakes that doesn't ever need to be made. You don't need to eyeball that. You can just say, okay, I'm gonna measure to, this, and okay, I'll definitely have a target when if no matter what happens, unless you back up a lot or something, which most people don't tend to do. So that was definitely a mistake there. We talked about it after the game. He thought that I would come to him a little bit, or not come to him strictly, but at least like move up a little bit. And then I kind of explained that I had the big shooting advantage, so I don't have to do that. So that wasn't going to happen. Another one is, when you're behind, play to get ahead. A lot of the times in this game, I felt like Colin was being very apprehensive with his movements. He didn't bring those other Gene Stealer units up, wasn't very aggressive on turn 1, things like that. When you're playing a list that's more powerful than you, or you're just down in a game or something like that, you need to take risks to get back into the game. If you continue to play safe or just do the standard thing, you're just not going to get back in the game. That's the long and the short of it, basically. So that's something I'll always preach to people, especially newer players, because when you start losing and you see how few models you have left and you feel like things are slipping away from you, you get very protective of what you have left. Like, oh, I gotta hide this. I don't want this thing to die. I've got so little left. Nope, you just gotta throw caution to the wind and say, hey, it's a dice game. Anything can happen. I'm gonna put myself in position for something good to happen to me. And that was something I didn't feel like Colin did in this particular game. And then the last thing is, going first isn't always the best option. So particularly in assault armies, very heavy melee armies, if you have guns and then they don't have as many guns and you're going to win a shooting war, there's a lot of there's a good reason to go second, basically, because they're going to come to you, which might mean they have less good defensive positions. They might give up cover, things like that, or you get to kind of see where their units are positioned. You're saying, oh, I was going to target that thing initially, but now he put some more resources into these guys, or these guys are in a better spot than I thought they would be. I'm going to go after those instead. Then it kind of lets you makes better decisions. And then if you're playing the ITC missions as well, you get the advantage of kind of being in the driver's seat as far as the end of the round scoring goes, with like, oh, he has 2 objectives, I better make sure to hold 3 objectives, or he killed 2 units, okay, I'll make sure to kill these 2 units I was worried about, but he has this this little chaff unit over there that's not too hard to remove. I'll put some resources into killing that just to get a scenario lead. So things like that just let you make better decisions, and when you can make better decisions, you get better results. So yeah, that's all I really have for this game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any comments or anything like that. I'm definitely trying to bump up the production value and move things along a little bit faster, as you could probably see. So yeah, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Probably be doing more of these. I will trying my very hardest to take more pictures and be more on top of that kind of stuff. I do have the next series of games is probably going to be my tournament that's coming up this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. I will do my very best to get pictures of those, but sometimes when you're playing a competitive game and there's a time limit and stuff like that, you have to be a little bit more in the moment. So we'll see what we can do, but I'll definitely have some more of these in the very near future for you. So thanks for watching, and I hope you guys check out the next one.